FOMO, or fear of missing out, first of all, is part of life. All of you, myself included, we're going to miss out on a lot of things. And sadly, a little lie that we're conditioned to believe in is that we can get around that. If we make the right choices, you don't have to miss out on everything. You can have it all. BS. Stop trying to have it all. Instead, ask yourself, what is that all for me? What is my authentic all? And this is the key. Once you are clear on what your quote-unquote win in life is, FOMO fades away. There's only that fear of missing out. Oh, what about this? What about that? If you aren't clear on what it is that you authentically want and the direction you are authentically going in. If I know, for example, I want to walk this way, I'm not going to experience FOMO of, what if I walk the other way? But if I am not clear, and then I'm looking to others, who's going that way? Who's going that way? Which is the best way? Which is the best way? Then I'm screwed. The same with commitment. People are like, I'm scared of commitment. You can't not commit. Right? Sometimes I'll talk with a client. I'm like, okay, do you commit to taking action here? And they're like, I don't know. I'm scared of commitment. I'm like, well, you're committing either way. You either commit to taking action or you commit to not taking action. Someone's like, oh, I'm scared of being in a relationship. Okay, well, you either commit to being in a relationship or you commit to being single. You commit to moving up, you commit to moving down. If you aren't committing, you are committing to not committing. But you are committing. It's going to happen for you regardless. The key, though, is to be aware of what it is you're committing to make sure it is aligned with your win. Versus, I'm going to let life do it for me. The same with habits, by the way. Habits will form regardless of if you want them to form or not. You can be in control of your habits and make sure that they're habits that are moving you towards that authentic win, or you can let life do it for you. Okay? But FOMO is a part of life, and you only experience it. The same with jealousy and envy if you aren't clear on the direction you are going in. This also links to boundaries. Who here would like to never experience anger again? Raise your hand. Just 1, 2, 3. All of you still want to experience anger? Really?
Yeah.
Why?
It can be kind of fun sometimes.
Can be fun? Okay. Why?
Get me released.
Channel it into my work.
What? Oh, you want to channel into your work? Oh, that hustle? Yeah. Okay.
One way to me to release.
Okay. Anger? Why? Yeah, why?
To me, it's okay to experience it, just not be run by it. So, like, momentary anger.
But why do you want to experience it? If you could get rid of it completely.
It's an indicator of what's going on inside.
Ooh. Indicator. Yes. Is that what you're going to say? Yes. Yes. This is key. You forever want to keep experiencing anger. You forever want to keep experiencing fear, so on and so forth. All emotions. Why? Because that's what guides you through life. If you didn't experience anger, how would you know that something isn't okay or that a boundary has been crossed? You wouldn't. Anger is the little red blinking light. It's like, something's not okay here. Like, say you're walking down the street, someone walks up to you and spits in your face. Would you want to experience anger then? Yeah. It'd be unhealthy if you didn't. If you're like, more please, right? It'd be very unhealthy. So you want to keep experiencing it. The same with all emotions. The key, however, and this is where sometimes that idea of like, ooh, no anger or no fear sounds so appealing, is there's a realistic amount, right? A healthy amount. So for example, boundary's been crossed, bzz, bzz, anger. Oh, you get the information, you get, like you said, the indicator, the message, and then you take that information, you decide what to do with it. Whether it's taking action on it, whether it's letting go. And once you do that, once you got the message, what happens? Anger is gone. That's how emotions should work. There's a threat, fear, fear, fear. The threat's gone, the fear's gone. However, if this is the realistic amount, say anger, what most of us experience is all this. And there's all the piled on triggered amount, right? Where instead of just having the light blink when a boundary's been crossed, it's just blinking all the time. And you're walking down the street, driving in traffic, and any little thing just pisses you off. It's like someone cuts you off, it's just like, the damn blinking light, and you're cutting me off, and you just snap. So from that perspective of always having the light blinking, of course you're like, just turn it off forever. I never want to see this light. But that would not be healthy. So anger, the same with all emotions, are healthy and necessary. They send you valuable information, and anger is a big one that lets you know a boundary's been crossed. And this is the first step when it comes to boundaries. We hear this like, well, what are boundaries? What even are my boundaries? Well, step one is discover what it feels like. Familiarize yourself with what it feels like when a boundary's been crossed. What does that feel like for you when something just isn't okay? When someone crosses a boundary, when someone says something or does something, or something happens, you're just like, that's just not okay. Or when you cross your own boundary. It's not just external. You too. You have a boundary and you don't do it, and then you get mad at yourself. Familiarize yourself with that, and then start journaling it down. This brings so much awareness when it comes to boundaries. It's like, okay, because what is a boundary? It's what am I okay with? What am I not okay with? It's as simple as that. Follow anger, those little blinking lights, and then write down the situation. And be like, what about that situation was I not okay with? What about that situation gave me the anger blinking light? And the more you start familiarizing yourself with boundaries, the healthier your life and your relationships with yourself and others will become. Okay, so that's the first step, following anger. Step two is simply logically asking yourself, what am I okay with? Where's the limit? And that depends on you. There is no universal boundary. This is what all of you should be okay with. It's like, what about you specifically? Where's that limit? And you can audit the different kinds of boundaries. For example, 4 big ones: emotional, physical, material, time. Emotional boundaries is ultimately anything that protects your emotional well-being, right? For example, who are you okay being vulnerable with? There's some people, and this is where it also gets subtle, like strangers, you're like, I have a boundary here. This is how much I'm willing to let out, nothing more. With this person, a little bit more. This person, a little bit more. Where is that limit? And what you'll sense is anytime you violate that, that feeling kicks in. Okay? Who do you let in or not? And to what extent? Who do you trust? Okay? And then, of course, I think you can also audit some examples of when that boundary is crossed is people betraying your trust. You'll probably feel angry. Boundary's been crossed. Okay? Someone interrupting you. That's a crossing of an emotional boundary. Someone not validating how you feel. Someone disrespecting you. Making you feel bad. Making you feel down. Making you feel small. That is a crossing of an emotional boundary. Write those out and audit all situations, including, once more, what you do to yourself. When do you betray you? When do you bring yourself down? When do you interrupt yourself? When do you insult yourself? When do you undermine your emotional well-being? Awareness is step one. Okay? Then there's physical boundaries. Those are boundaries protecting your physical space. For example, how comfortable are you around other people? What are the boundaries around, say, touch? For who is it okay to touch you? For who isn't? How much touch? How close can someone get into your personal space? What are you okay with? Okay. And again, some crossings there could be someone being too physical, too touchy, taking up too much space, hurting you. Material boundaries. That is anything that ultimately protects your material possessions, right? Like, who do you lend something to? Right? Oh, do you need money? Let me lend you some money. What amount are you crossing a boundary of what you're okay with in terms of lending? And you can also see here on the people pleaser side, and we'll talk about this, how people pleasers continuously do this lose-win game. As long as the other wins, it's fine if I lose. Cross my boundaries, walk all over me. Oh, you need more money? This is more than I feel comfortable, but here, I'll just take it. No, no, no. Okay. Time boundaries, that's another big one. It's ultimately protecting the use of your time, the use of your life, right? Basically, who are you willing to give X amount of time to? How much is too much time? I'm sure you've gotten in conversations like that where you start talking to someone, they just keep talking and talking and talking. You're like, oh, this crossed my boundary of how much time I'm willing to give this person. This is no longer a win-win. Be aware of that. Okay? The same with, on your end, balancing, say, time for yourself, time for friends, time for family, time for hobbies, time for work, writing all that down. What time towards each? And getting really clear on it. Having hard cutoffs. For example, if you know there's someone who you talk to, like I have a family member like that who just talks and talks and talks, any single time I get on the phone, I say, by the way, I have a hard cutoff at X time, right off the bat. So they know, the frame is set. You know what, let's do this, but just know that, hey, in 30 minutes, that's it, I'm out, hard cutoff. Versus, okay, please, I'll take the lose as long as you win. No. Also knowing your limits. Work hard, play hard. You should have a boundary in terms of how much time you want to put towards work and how much time you want to put towards leisure. And this is especially for someone who's a bit more on the workaholic hustle side. You know, you schedule in, assuming you're structured with your week, usually people schedule in their work time. Oh, Monday I'm going to do this, Tuesday I'm going to do that, and they have their whole work schedule. What I'd suggest doing is also schedule in mess around time. Time where you're not allowed to be productive at all. And you stick to it and treat it as seriously as you would your work schedule. That's so you're not one foot in each. Because that's what people do. They're working, and while they're working, they want to be chilling. But then as soon as they chill, they'll feel guilty about it because they're like, oh, but I should be working. And they're always pulled in these two directions. Chaos. That there is simply a lack of boundaries. Versus from this time, I'm working. Nope, no chilling. But then as soon as your mess around time kicks in, you're not allowed to work or feel guilty about it. You treat it as seriously as like a work meeting. Chill times. TV on, nothing productive. Here we go. Or go hang out with friends, nothing productive. So you're not one foot in each. Okay? Crossings of this, for example, would be, you know, someone just talking and talking without permission. Someone being late, right? Someone not being aware of how much time they take up. But those are 4 big ones. You can go much more nuanced. You can also look this up online. There's many different boundaries, but simply a good external audit on these areas of your life. And once more, what am I okay with? And at what point am I not okay with it? Finding that limit is key. So we covered the 4 main areas of boundaries. Zooming in, you can audit the type of boundary. And there's 2 toxic ones and 1 healthy one. Toxic one, number 1, is someone who has very loose boundaries. That's a people pleaser. It's someone who, for them, it's a lose, and the others are win. So it's okay if you cross my boundaries. They're just loose and floppy. Walk all over me. Walk all over me. That is terrible. On the opposite end, toxic number 2, is someone whose boundaries are just too firm and too rigid, where, oh, you crossed it a little bit, you're dead to me, and you cut them out of your life. Right? You'll see people go, sadly, on this route with boundaries. They'll come into it from a people pleaser, where everyone's walking all over them. They find out about boundaries, and then they shift it to the other side when now they're super strict and they're cutting everyone out of their lives. People also do this with codependency and narcissism, where suddenly everyone in their life is a narcissist and a terrible person. So that's also toxic, versus the healthy medium. Okay? Not too loose, not too rigid, right in the middle. Okay? And you can even, if you're familiar with, say, attachment styles, right? Like the loose boundaries would be more of an anxious attachment style. The rigid boundary would be more of the avoidance. And you can audit what type of person you are, right? Are you more loose-wise, like I said, people pleaser? You don't know how to say no. You have trouble saying no. You avoid confrontation. And there's a lot of passive aggressiveness. If you're someone who's very passive aggressive, by the way, that is a sign you need to get really clear on your boundaries and really clear on expressing those boundaries. Because even going more subtle here, the reason people tend to be passive aggressive is they do so hoping that the other person will notice and define that boundary for them. So I know something's wrong. I know a boundary's been crossed. Say you were to cross a boundary. I know it, but I'm too scared, because I'm a little people pleaser, to tell you, hey, that was not okay. So I'm just going to be passive aggressive until you figure out that it wasn't okay. And you figure out that boundary for me, right? So that's the people pleaser. Then on the opposite side, like I said, rigid, that's more of the avoidant attachment style. That's someone who's very independent, doesn't like to ask for help, easily cuts people off. It's like, screw it, I got this anyway, I'll do it myself, right? Closed off and very protective. Versus the middle ground, where you know what you want, you know what you need, you know how to say no when it's crossed, but you also know how to ask for help, and it's not too rigid either. Realize that a lot of the times when people cross a boundary, it isn't them trying to be mean or get you, but that can happen. But a lot of times they simply don't know that the boundary is there. If you never told someone, hey, here's a limit, this is what I'm okay with, this is too much, and you never tell them, they can't figure that out on their own. So with every boundary, you must also learn how to express it in a healthy way. And ultimately, it has to be win-win. That's what a boundary is. How can we create a situation where it's a win for me and a win for you? And if it isn't win-win, if there's a lose-win or a win-lose, right? The more people pleaser, it's they take the loss so the others win. The more rigid person is I win, so you lose, screw it. If there's a lose in there, it's not win-win. If it's not win-win, no one wins. In terms of expressing and communicating boundaries, definitely study and read the book Crucial Conversations. That is a must. If you haven't read it, top your reading list. You'll learn how to navigate, these are touchy subjects, right? And ultimately navigate these triggering conversations and learn how to express boundaries in a healthy way, learn how to have disagreements in a healthy way. That's another lie, right? We're conditioned to think that, oh, disagreements and arguments are bad. No, they're normal, they're healthy, and they're a part of life because we're all different. However, there's a toxic way of arguing and a healthy way of arguing. This will teach you the healthy way. And also on the more inner side, the healthy way of arguing is when you aren't triggered. Because as soon as you're triggered, your intention shifts away from being solution focused. For example, let's just say we're fighting over, I don't know, it's like you parked your car a little too close to mine or something like that. And we're fighting. The solution would be, okay, well, how can we figure out so there's some more space or it's a win-win? That's the solution. But if I get triggered and say I get really pissed off, I'm like, how dare you? And it just riles me up. I'm not going to be looking for a solution. I don't even care if you give me the solution. Well, actually, Julien, here's what we can do. My win, like what I'm looking for is to get rid of this triggeredness. So it shifts away from objective solution to get rid of this by either yelling, expressing, or triggering you or whatnot. So if you're triggered, you're immediately screwed, okay? But Crucial Conversations is key. And then also realize that people can't guess these boundaries. You have to let them know. Stop waiting for them to guess it. Stop waiting for them to guess it for you because you might have resistance to identifying it yourself. And realize that this doesn't create some prison for you. It's ultimately getting aligned with, similar with your win in life, what is true, what is authentic, what you're okay with and what you aren't. Getting in touch with your authentic needs.